Hey, welcome everybody. This is Dr. Craig with AI, and I've got Dr. Vaikunthan in Singapore, Malaysia at the moment with us. Welcome.
Thank you for this invitation. It's great to be with you.
Great to have you here. And you're doing some really interesting things with artificial intelligence and medical research and such. Why don't you tell us about a bit about your background and how you became interested?
Right, I'm actually a practicing hand surgeon. I've been practicing for the last 44 years. But as part of our role as a surgeon, we have to educate the next generations of surgeons. So I've been actively involved in medical education, and instructional design was about 15, 20 years ago. I was quite interested, and I got a master's in instructional design and technology. So that's where the technology element came in. And when AI came in, I just jumped on it. I also have a PhD in education. So I'm very much interested in how to integrate AI into education and in healthcare. So I've worked quite a lot on it, partly because of the background, and I use it a lot in my daily practice. So it's great, and also in my research and in my teaching.
So a PhD in education, a master's in instructional design with technology. You're a surgeon as well. You must have so much free time with all of that going on.
So nobody ever succeeded in life waking up at 8 a.m. So I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. I get about solid 3.5 hours of work before I go to work. And in the weekend, there's about 6 to 8 hours a day of solid work. So, and AI helps me work much more productive and much more efficient. And so that's kind of addictive. And yeah, it's a good addiction.
Yeah. Can I get you to share a little bit about the ways that you keep yourself productive using AI or technology tools?
So yeah, so I use a fair bit of technology. So one, in terms of my writing, I do a fair bit of writing, and I think AI has been a tremendous help in taking out the heavy lifting out of writing. Uh, though I consider myself English as my first language, but we are considered a second language, English, and so some of the construction of sentences takes a long time, but with AI it moves very rapidly. So that's really one way. And the other things is data analysis. So I used to depend a lot on my statisticians, and they're not easy to find, and they're a bit difficult to get. Those with large amounts of grant kind of monopolize them. So that's really helped. AI has really helped with that. Also in data visualization. And so that's some of the areas. And then the video creation. So I do a lot of video creation for my teaching. I have a YouTube channel. So that's really helped a lot in rapidly producing videos with the use of AI. So that's how it's helped me to be extremely productive. In fact, I just finished editing a book just before this because I woke up at 3:30. Just finished cleaning up the book, and AI helped with that.
Well, you put me to shame as I get up at 4:30 in the morning. You've set a
Oh,
bar for me to aspire to.
yeah, yeah. 4:30 is just too late.
To sleep in for you.
Yeah, yeah. But I go to bed early. I go to bed at 10, so that's fine. That's more than enough sleep.
So I'm interested, you said about data analysis, because as
Yeah,
educators, we're always analyzing assessment data,
yeah.
formative and summative, and
Mm.
you said about visualization of that as well.
Yes,
Are there
yeah.
particular platforms or tools that you find very helpful that might be good for a teacher who's in school with a wraith of data that they need to pull together?
Yeah, I think ChatGPT, the version 4, is pretty very powerful. Just the ability to be prompted to do the appropriate things. Sometimes it does get lazy. I think the laziness is the one is the amount of tokens you have used, and number two is the bandwidth at the back end. That's what's happening. I think a lot of people still don't realize that ChatGPT is not yet a product; it's still beta testing. So if you just kind of work on it, it does. So I use that for all my data analysis now. We are currently working with a data scientist from a university to validate some of the data analysis. So we're just checking out, comparing that with, we're going to use R and SPSS to validate data analysis. So both quantitative and qualitative is fantastic. I think qualitative data analysis with ChatGPT is just amazing if you know what to do with it. I'm currently working on knowledge graphs. a little bit tricky, but something that I probably in the next couple of weeks will work on it. Yeah.
I think that's been the difficulty with software is very good at quantitative, but
Yeah.
having a large language model that understands language and able to
Yes.
bring inferences and pull it together, it's very powerful.
Yeah. So, in fact, it's very timely. I'm just flying off this afternoon to Kuala Lumpur. So, we started this off as part of the UNESCO chair training individuals. So, we have trained up to 4,000 people across 13 countries on how to use generative AI in their practice, mainly teachers, some learners from various levels, from high school, primary school. I think my colleagues have done some kindergarten teachers on how to use AI in teaching. I focus on higher institutions and healthcare. So we've done engineers. We recently did in Sri Lanka. We trained over a 5 day period, Monday to Friday, 500 people, of which 50 of them have agreed to be trained in the trainer program to make this sustainable. So just teaching people how to use it, and you'll be surprising how most of them are just trial and error. Obviously, it's not so efficient way of learning. So one of the things we found was there was this need for a standardized form of integrating AI into teaching practice. So we were at a roundtable meeting in Bangkok late last year, and we realized that everybody is not very well structured and there's no stakeholder involvement. So tomorrow and the day after, we're running the first ASEAN summit of all ASEAN countries from the ministers of education's support. So the ASEAN Southeast Asia's Ministers of Education Organization is co-organizing this with Asia Pacific University, and we're bringing together about 120 people as a sit-down session where stakeholders are going to get together to understand the problem. We have already analyzed 680 over participants have already sent in some data. We just finished analyzing them, and we found 6 areas in which they are concerned about and the challenges they face. So we're going to work through that by Wednesday evening using AI. We're going to get all the teams analyzed, and we're going to write a consensus report on how to integrate AI in the various countries in ASEAN. And I think that that's going to be crucial. I mean, people can worry about the policies and guidance and governance issue, but end of the day, it's the toothpaste that's come out of the container. You can't put it back. You got to teach people how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Is New Zealand represented there?
New Zealand is not part of ASEAN, but Timor Leste. But I don't think anybody is coming from Timor Leste. Timor Leste is a active observer of the ASEAN region. We do have Sri Lanka coming. Those some of them who are not part of the ASEAN. This is actually the first part. We got some support from the Ministry of Science and Technology in Malaysia. Not well. We are very well represented by Philippines, Indonesia and Thailand. Not everybody's well. Vietnam, I think we only got one participant. I think it's just to get the ball going, and then because next year I think Malaysia takes on the chairman of the ASEAN chairmanship, so we hope to probably have another event next year. I think this will be a kind of a preliminary kind of understanding of the problem, and I think as AI gets more stabilized and more people start using it, I think it's going to make a big difference.
As you've been training, and the team has been training educators, particularly at primary and high school level, what do you see as some of the opportunities for educators with AI?
I think it's a game changer. I think the teachers need to get back to teaching and coaching and being on the side and let the kids just do their stuff. Give them the AI. And I think that's the part that the support, the mentorship, the coaching is what has been taken away from the teachers. I remember my primary school teacher. She used to hit me on my head, yeah, a couple of times, which was I deserved it anyway. But she spent a fair bit of time with us, even though I suppose the paperwork wasn't as much. But today, teachers are too busy with the administrative aspects and the assessment parts of it. And I think assessment is a big area where AI is going to help. But we need to relook at assessment. I think the standard form of assessments have to be packed away. I think this with AI, we've got to let them use the AI, but let's see how critical thinking has improved. We
Mm.
spend a lot of time in our training on the validation. A lot of people spend too much time on promptology. Well, there's no such word. We just wrote a book on promptology for healthcare because it's not proctology, but promptology. Uh, but prompting is one aspect, but the more important aspect is the validation. So we teach them how to use evidence-based validation to ensure that everything and taking responsibility and in an ethical manner. So I really think that it's going to make a change and to get teachers to start looking at personalized tutoring, personalized teaching, and guidance. And I really feel that they are the people who really need to know how to use this to full extent. One of the problems that we have picked up is who's going to pay for it. So there has been very few governments paying for it at this moment. I know some universities in Australia are paying for both faculty and students. But having said that, I was just so surprised. Last week, I was in the interior. I was in Borneo in Kota Kinabalu, and we had some nurses and doctors from the interior, really rural, and they are not rich. They were living in one star, I don't know, some makeshift hotels, and they were coming for the conference. I was running a 2 day workshop on AI for research. And by 10 o'clock in the morning, 40% of them had paid for the chat GPT.
Wow.
And I was just shocked that these people who were, really couldn't afford, but they saw the value in it. Uh, uh, I wasn't selling it as much, but I was saying that it's so much more powerful and it could do more stuff that the 3.5, the free version, couldn't do. And they invested. Same thing, we saw that in Sri Lanka. By 10:30, 11 o'clock, 40%, for 50% started purchasing because they wanted to see it impact their practice.
Wow. And so for research in higher
Mm.
education or healthcare, um, what are some of the processes or tools if it's just ChatGPT, no problem, but are there additional ones that you're also
Yes. Yes. So ChatGPT is used as the synthesizer. It synthesizes stuff that you have already found. So one of the tools that I use two of the tools. I have many tools. I subscribe. That's where half my salary goes to paying for subscription for all these tools. But what we kind of hone down because we can't teach too many at a time. It's a very much a hands-on workshop. 60% of the time they're on their laptop and we need broadband and stuff like that. So we go through elicit and size space. So these are the two, which is typeset.io at the moment, the thing. So we train them to do rapid literature review. So we have a program. We introduce them to generative AI. The curriculum is available online anyway. All my resources are online. And then by 10:30 or so, they already know how to prompt and validate. And then we go to literature review. By 12 o'clock, they're done the literature review. So we teach them how to use various platforms using AI to review the literature and then to interrogate PDFs in depth. And most of them will create tables for them. And then they go back to ChatGPT to help synthesize and then get insights using that from the multiple sources. So we teach them how to do evidence-based validation. So whatever prompts that produces a response, each response, we the workshops is where I call RI meets AI. The real intelligence meets AI, and the real intelligence, I believe, is us. I hope it is still us. But whatever it is, I keep telling people is AI is far superior than us as an individual, not the collective human race, but as an individual. I cannot remember it as much as. So it's very interesting. I just tell you this. On Saturday, we ran a workshop for hand surgery. For hand surgery, so I did a post test. So I used AI to generate cursory assessment of the uh, question. Was okay with me. I'm the subject matter expert. We ran it, and then a couple of my colleagues who are hand surgeons came up and argued with me that one of the answers was not right. On initial exam, I said, yeah, maybe I should have checked it a bit more. Then I came back and I looked at the answer. I said, yes, it makes sense. So I went back to the chat and I challenged ChatGPT And then it realized that its reasoning was wrong, but the answer was right. And then I gave the reason why it should be, and then it accepted. So I spent some time training the AI so that at least in that area it improved. So I think it proved the point that you need the real intelligence to be able to work with artificial intelligence. So I think we teach them from research question generation. I have helped about close to 12 PhD students who have been sitting for a year looking for a question. And
Mm,
within 6 weeks, they've done the first three chapters. And I got one who is now next week going for her defense of a proposal. And I
wow.
think, yeah, I really think supervisors need to wake up and to get this stuff. And I think 5 years for a PhD is maybe too long. With the AI in place, we can move this process faster. They should be focused more on the creative ideas of getting the problem and real world problems and questions in their head quickly, and then get the data collection done, which actually spends very little, and then the analysis and the writing can be sped up with this. So,
Mm.
I've seen in many example use cases where they have been able to get the question going, write the proposals, and then the data analysis comes in fairly quickly. And even with the data collection and the design of the instruments, uh, it's extremely helpful.
So I've been using Elicit as a
Yes,
website to help me
yeah,
identify concepts and map concepts
yeah.
in different areas that I'm interested in. You mentioned another platform as well. I didn't quite catch that you might be using.
So it at the moment the URL is typeset.io. Typeset is they're branding themselves as size space, slightly certain functionality better than Illicit. It does plagiarism checks, it does paraphrasing, and it does AI detection tool also.
And when you say evidence-based validation, what types of
Yes.
things are people looking for to validate the data they're getting or the trends?
Most of my research work, I work with some data scientists, but mainly with healthcare professionals. So when something comes up as a response, so as a subject matter expert, we can say, "Oh, right, it's right, this fact is right." But if I'm not sure of that fact, so we use the AI to identify key search terms, and then we take that key search terms and we put that into our database, PubMed, scholars, what do you call it, Google Scholar, and then do a peer review, literature review, and then making sure that we got high level evidence. And then we take those, so we extract the data from our literature review. So basically, it's performing a literature review based on the response. And then the data extraction we take, and then we synthesize that, and then we validate or we say that this is not absolutely correct.
Right, very good. Would you agree that data and research, it used to be that the most important papers and the most important research are the ones that are cited the most, but now it seems to be moving with the advent of AI and the ability to access and identify and concept map, that it's the more influential papers that influence the design of studies, that contribute to knowledge, that you see popping up in the discussion areas of
Yeah.
research. It's changing the way that we do validate and we do see the importance of papers.
Mm. Yes, I agree. I think it's going to make a difference. I think the publication industry needs to wake up, and I think the journals are in. They're worried. They're extremely worried, and I think they have every right to worry. So I have a colleague of mine, and he's just worked out a kind of a new model for publication. It's in its infancy, where they are not charging APC. They charge small amounts of APC, which is returned back to you once people start reading at very low cost and a few cents with Bitcoin, and they're rewarding reviewers with small amounts of reward with Bitcoin. So kind of making it a much more democratized way of publication, and I think this is crucial. I tell my workshop participants in research that 70% of experimental work in psychology cannot be reproduced. Published work, 70%. 35% of randomized controlled trial cannot be reproduced, and then we are worshipping this evidence when there's a lot of problems in that area. And I think with generative AI, we're going to see more and more um, people who are non-English speaking people publishing. The Chinese are starting to publish. I work very closely. I go twice a year to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and Cambodia to teach. And with, I think, from my Bangladesh colleagues, we have published about 4 papers in the last 6 months, because now they're becoming more
Oh,
proficient in writing, because they got a lot of data and they're not very good at writing. And so the data is wasted because of a large population.
right,
So I've been helping them. And so now with generative AI, I mean, they just come to me for the final checking and stuff like that. But I see a surge in that. I'm going to see a surge in that. We're going to see kids from, third world countries doing research, action research kind of stuff, right there. And this needs to be integrated into the curriculum. I'm really impressed with Scandinavia, where kindergarten kids are taught how to do research with real problems like they find in their playground. They do the research, present to the headmaster, and the headmaster then implements whatever they want because it's evidence based. So I think that's the way forward, and I think generative AI is going to help them do that.
brilliant. Well, Dr. Vaikunthan, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you giving us your time in your early morning. What is the best way for people to get hold of you if they wish to after this?
Sure. My email is the best. So I am on LinkedIn, so they can hook up on LinkedIn, look for me. My email is vaikunthan@gmail.com. My first name at gmail.com. I'm more
Fantastic.
than happy to collaborate with people and work on this.